like there's a pretty big hunger to learn about some fuck-ups on a Friday, huh? Well, I'll try to talk about a couple of my consistent fuck-ups and failures, so hopefully you can gain a little bit of insight from those. I'm Louise, and I've been the creative lead of Innovation Lab, Scandinavia's oldest think tank, for some 8.5 years. I've just stopped that and I'm on my way into my next adventure. I've been doing a lot of different work, but I don't want to bore you with that. What I do want to talk to you about today is failures, of course. Now, as I was thinking about this theme, I thought that there's kind of two types of fuck-ups. They're the fuck-ups that you do once when you get so extremely embarrassed that you just think, what the fuck? I had one of those a couple of months ago. We were visiting a rare exhibition at Autodesk, which is one of the world's largest software companies in Silicon Valley. And we had been invited into an opening in a gallery. But the entire exhibition, it hadn't been set up yet. So we had been allowed to get a sneak peek. And I had brought in 20 clients of mine that I had brought to Silicon Valley. So I was kind of the host. And in the middle of this tour, we were walking around and seeing all these amazing pieces of art. And on the wall over there, I got totally mesmerized because there was one piece of art that was just so cool. So I walked, and it said, and I looked down, and I had walked directly into a piece of art that had not only moved, but that made everybody in the room do like, and I was looking at Jacob that had invited us into this exhibition that had not been opened yet, and he was like, please don't touch it. I'll just go and grab the artist. I'm not sure what to do, but just don't touch it, don't touch it. And I could have jumped into a hole back then. Later on, I learned that that particular piece of art, the interaction with it was that you're supposed to walk into it. So I was so fucking embarrassed in front of 20 of some of my best clients that I had brought over there. Yeah, the rest is history. But when I was thinking about this, I could have been telling you a lot of these stories because I've done that quite a few times, not in that particular situation, but other things. But what I actually think is interesting are the consistent failures that we do, things that keeps popping up again and again and again, because for some reason we don't take them seriously enough. Now, I'm starting to get a grip on some of these, and I want to talk to you about it. The first thing that is a consistent failure in my life is not exercising enough. And why don't you just exercise? Well, that's a good question. And when I talk to my friends and my family and I say, fuck, I haven't got any exercise, they go, why don't you just do it? I'll tell them, I'm pretty busy, I've got my own company, I have to make money, I've got a huge client, I do a lot of keynotes, I do a lot of talks, so I'm always on the move, sometimes I'm in the States, sometimes I'm here, blah, 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 blah. And the real failure here is actually, because this is a repetitive story, I will keep telling this over and over again. And right now, I've not been exercising for a while, I can tell you that. The real mistake here is that we can always come up with good stories and good reasons. And when these reasons seem to be pretty powerful, they can firstly convince our friends and our families and whomever are asking, why don't you just do this? Well, now, listen to A, B, C, and D. But they can almost convince ourselves. We can tell ourselves the most shitty stories about why we don't reach our goals, and then we can kind of accept it. We can go, yeah, that's actually true. I'm prioritizing this way because I have to have a successful business. And this is the failure that is in this. Telling yourself these stories that are not true, but that are damn good stories. So that's one. But before I let you off the hook with this exercise, I want to talk to you about why should we exercise, because I actually work with this. Now, this is not the reason why we should be exercising, just so that you know. Now, I work quite a bit with neuroscience, and in neuroscience you get to take a sneak peek into the brain so that you can actually understand what's going on in real time. Now, you can do this with several technologies. One of them are Fmri scannings, and I don't want to go into this, but you can view 60 pictures, 60 frames per second of the action in the brain. What do we know about exercise and the brain? When you sit still for a long time, your brain becomes blue. The blood in your brain will start to go into your body, and that's not very good for creativity. Now, when you exercise, your heart will pump, so there will be more blood and more oxygen in your brain. What does this mean now that we've got a brain that looks like this after just a 20-minute walk? Well, let me tell you something. Stanford University, they did a research project where they nailed that when you walk, you are 60% more creative than when you sit still. 60%. Isn't that amazing? They had to do this study 2 times over because they didn't believe their own results. 60% more creative. This is your associative creativity that you can connect and that you can boost in this way right here. Now, exercise for the brain is when your heartbeat is from 65% and up. So from 65% and up, you've got a variety of different things shifting in your brain. And let me just show you a couple of them. First of all, you produce a growth hormone called BDNF. Now, BDNF is something that is in your body after you've exercised to make your muscles stronger and bigger. So it's growing whatever it can find. Being in the brain, it grows your neurons. So your brain cells will physically, after exercise, be stronger. When you think, you connect neurons and you produce something called a synapse. These synapses will be stronger after exercise. Also, exercise 1 hour, you'll produce 700 new brain cells. Isn't this a pretty good piece of news? I think it is, because I did not believe that you could produce new brain cells before I started reading this. Turns out you can. Also, when you exercise from 65% and up of your maximum heartbeat, your brain will start to release a lot of different neurotransmitters. These neurotransmitters can be very helpful for your mood. It actually lifts your mood so much so that 30 to 40 minutes, 3 times a week, will boost your happiness equal to if you took the strongest antidepressants that you can get your hands on. But moreover, these neurotransmitters, they can physically dissolve the structure of the stress molecule. So whenever you're feeling stressed, when you exercise, it's actually a little bit like being back in the chemistry lab when you could kind of mix 2 an acid and a base and it could actually become something that you could drink. It's kind of the same thing that's going on in your brain because you can physically dissolve the molecule of stress, cortisol, with exercise. Now also, if you're interested in learning and how your synapses get stronger, you have a window that is approximately 90 minutes after you've exercised, where your learning and your memory will be 20% faster and better. So exercise is actually for the brain, it's secondarily for the body. So think about this and think about the good reason. Now, what I also wanted to talk to you about was this thing here, saying yes. Saying yes is too easy sometimes when people will ask you about all kinds of crazy things or favors or projects that you may want to help them out with or collaborate on. And I kind of like this way of phrasing it that Oprah did. She said that saying yes too much can actually become a disease to please. Pleasing people, that is something that I've done a lot. Now, I've done it a lot with a very good history because I work as a consultant. I have to say yes, because if I want to make some money, I have to do whatever my clients want me to do. But it turns out, when I say yes to something that I'm not particularly interested or excited about, it'll be a crappy job. It'll be a crappy job for me, it'll be a crappy job for the client will not return, and I've got a little strategy on my own that I want 70% of my customer base to be returning customers that will call me again because I did something that they really enjoyed or liked. So it's not a helpful strategy in any way. We are driven by enthusiasm, and if you don't have it, you say yes to the wrong things. Now, I thought about this over the years because when you say yes to a lot of different things, it will take you in one direction. And this one direction is often not the direction that you want to be in. But it takes courage to actually decide your own path and to stick with it and to go for it and to only say yes to the things that you really want to do. Now, if we all just fast forward, hopefully many years, let's just take a look at a list here, a list with 5 bullets that represents the most common regrets of the dying. This is made by a nurse, and she talked to a lot of people that on their deathbeds was connecting with her, talking about their biggest regrets. I think number 1 is an extremely important takeaway from today. Now, this is the list over extreme failures, the things that you wish you could have changed, but that you haven't got the opportunity to change anymore. So I wish I had the courage to live life true to myself, not the life others expected of me. Pretty good, right? Now, number 2, I wish I hadn't worked so hard. I'll just kind of point out these 2 ones because I want to show you another point. Gallup, they did a huge study in 2012 proving that 87% of all employees, there's some form of disengaged. Think about that. The biggest investment that we get to take in our life is the investment in our work, because accumulative, the hours that we put into it over a lifespan, that will be the biggest investment. So if we invested wrong, then that will be the ultimate failure. I hope that this is a question that you will kind of put in your pocket, and maybe tomorrow when you've sobered up, that you'll unpack a little bit and ask yourself, how will you make sure that you won't be one of those almost 9 out of 10 disengaged employees? Don't want to be doing what you're doing, investing with your life into something that is not important for you. And when you want to be making your decisions about what you want to do, I've got kind of one piece of life advice that I want to share with you. This is just to sum up. And this one piece is that when you want to make a new move, when you're looking into the world for new opportunities, for the next adventures, for something that you want to do, don't make it logical. Don't look at your education or your competencies and say, hey, now I could do this or that, or go to this company or whatever. Don't think logically, but do this one trick. Choose from the top of the pyramid. Start to think like, what if I could do and live and be the most crazy and insane version of my dream? What would that actually look like? What kind of company could help me build and create and realize my dreams, where would I be? In which country? With what kind of people? Don't begin with what you logically can think. This might be easy, or I could go there, or they might accept me. Do it the other way around. Begin from the very top. It may not be realistic, but even if you've got a list that begins up here and goes down to point number 10, even if you end up at point number 10, it'll still be way better than starting down here with what seemed rational and logic and what you could do and what you've seen other people's do. Because this is, for me, this has been my zone of failure. When I have done something, when I'm not engaged, when I did not dream it up to become something that I would be proud of and that I would love and something that I really wanted to dig into, this is where I produce low quality work where my enthusiasm is gone. So let this be the final piece of little advice that I want to leave you with on this Friday. Thank you guys.